Halloween
Forever.
Welcome, boys and girls, to another fucking mini-sode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
Woo.
Guys, we got a motherfucker of a show here tonight, guys. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We are going to have our first guest on in quite a while, and boy howdy, is it a fucking doozy of a guest. We have writer, director of recently released on Shudder. I think it was released last year on the festival circuit. A little flicky that we watched and did an episode on a few weeks ago called The Sadness. Writer-director of that particular film, Rob Jabbaz, is on. I think it's Jabbaz. I heard people pronounce it
So much
several
flair.
ways.
There's so
And I
much
just
flair.
want to get it out before he's actually on the line, so that I don't have to mispronounce his name to his face. That's the trick. But I was in line with what it's. I think I pronounced it not horrifically wrong. In any case, holy shit, what a movie! If you guys listen to our episode and discussion about The Sadness, it's a trip. It's a whole thing. It's a whole ordeal. It's just going to probably fuck your life up in more ways than one. And I'm eager to talk to the gentleman who wrote and directed what I've got to characterize as one of the most brutal fucking movies I've probably ever seen in my life. So pretty excited for that. But before we have company over, before we light a candle and open a window and get all the fart smells out of the house, before we, shove all the dirty clothes under the bed, we got some couple different orders of business that we have to take care of, as is tradition on the Minisode. Let's start with some damn beers, you guys. You got any beers out here you want to talk about?
I got beer.
We got.
Meg, you want to go first?
Sure, why not? Because we already got the chip talk out of the way.
Yeah, I came on. I signed onto the Zoom a little late, and it was a very solemn scene. And for whatever reason, it sounded like that Meg and Steve were having this really in-depth conversation. Meg was like, "Yeah, I think it's just I have this fear of commitment." And I was like, "Wow, things are getting heavy." While I was restarting the old laptop, and then I quickly realized, no, they're just talking about chips.
Yeah, well,
It was
here's
just
the
chip-chat.
here's the A to Z on that. So
Yeah.
this beer that I have, it's a collaboration. It says Pro-Am, so it's Bolero Snort Brewery and Fifth
Which so it
Season.
means it sucks. It's Pro-Am. That means this beer sucks.
Come on, let's not talk too much. Should I brought this back from the Pink Boots event? last
Okay,
night.
fine.
But when we
It
were
sucks
just
by women.
God.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, that means it's better than most things. Yeah, so the whole conversation turned because the Bolero, so we started talking about cars from Cuba, and then we started talking about Cubans, and then we started about Cuban chips, and I said, no, I can't commit to crazy flavored chips like that. I just can't. I never end up liking them.
What's a Cuban flavored chip?
Do you know what a Cuban is?
I mean, I know the Cuban sandwich.
Yeah, it's that in
Yeah.
chip form.
Oh, I thought it was a native flavor from Cuba, like the ketchup chips from Canada, but it was whatever Cuban chip flavor. But no, it's literally flavored like a Cuban sandwich.
Yeah, it's the sandwich Aldi sells them. Check it out.
Yeah. Or
So
not.
they
Or go with the classics like I do. Just get some Ruffles, some good old fashioned French onion dip.
Hell of a good.
Go to town. Call
Yeah.
it a night. That's all you need.
You know what I like
yeah.
to do is eat the entire thing of French onion dip, and then when there's really not any reason to fuck with the chips anymore, just swipe my finger around the inside and
That's
just
the
lick
move,
it
though.
off
I'm
my
not
finger
disgusted by that.
just like a dirty whole that I am.
There's that groove you just can't get into with the chips.
I know.
And that's what the finger's for.
Yeah.
My
People
ex-boyfriend.
think this is a Coke now. No, this is for dip.
This is
Dip
a
nail.
dip nail.
Yeah.
No, my ex-boyfriend told me early on when we started dating that that like his family was like really, really into French onion dip. Like it was this thing that
Like it's on their family crest.
Yeah. Pretty much, like this is pretty close. Like
I'm
they
imagining
said,
him
like,
sitting you down, going like, "I have to talk to you about something."
Well, it was before I met his family for the first time, for sure, because we knew that there was gonna be French onion dip there. Like that was just a norm. So he basically gave me a warning, and I thought he was joking, but he was just like, "No, it's like you put down the French onion dip, and then just everyone swarms it, and then it's gone." And that's exactly what happened, and I've never seen anything like that. It's kind of like this movie that we're talking about tonight. A little bit. It's like swarm to it. Kill it.
And they were also
Fuck
like
it. They're fucking the
really
French
I was
onion
gonna say,
dip.
were they really like violently horny for it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my random story for the night, guys. So this beer though that I'm drinking,
It's Cuban flavored.
well, that was also what we were talking about before you got on. Where the watermelons grow. It's a watermelon. It has hibiscus in it, has sea salt. I don't know totally how I feel about it. Maybe there's like a little too much salt in it for me. So there's something going on. But it's okay. In theory, I like this whole combo. In theory, I would like it.
Yeah. Sounds fucking lame. I like also that you're like, you like it in theory, which means it's not in reality.
Right.
In theory, I think that I like it, but when I
theory,
taste it, it's
I know
bad.
I like these. Like I know I like this combo.
I like a thing
In
that might
this
be called
beer,
that, but just
I
not
don't know
this.
if I like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm not going to be mean to people right now.
Yeah. Well, people make bad
Except
beer.
for you.
I mean,
Except for both of you two.
people
guys can go
make
fuck
bad beer
yourselves.
like all the time. Unfortunately, people make bad beer all the time. So
That's true. Yep.
You got bad beer, Steve? You got good beer? What's up?
I got good beer,
Okay.
but it's good for me. So you're
So
gonna
that means
say
it's
bad beer.
thick
Yeah, yeah.
and
So you're gonna say
sweet.
bad beer.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of adjuncts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just a dollop of sour cream on the label?
No, it was ice cream. Ice cream.
All right.
So it is the Abjuration Ice Cream Sour
Yeah.
version 1.3.
He poured it into a glass and then put a dollop of sour cream on top of it because he's a sick fuck like that.
It's their vanilla soft serve and peanut butter version.
I like
Yeah.
those combos in theory as well, but I don't know if I want it in a beer.
It works for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it? Wait, did it say it was sour too?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So it comes out tasting like a peanut butter jelly sandwich,
Where's the jelly coming into play?
just from the sourness of like the fruit sourness. Like it's not.
What's the fruit in it?
Yeah.
There is no fruit in
So-
it. It's just
Oh.
like the tartness you would associate with like
A jelly.
not like a grape
I'm
jelly, but
trying
more
to
of
follow
a.
you and like be like, yeah, for sure. I'm trying to be validating here, but I'm also just saying that I don't want a lemon curd in my fucking PB&J.
Yeah, it's like the tartness from like a red raspberry maybe, but there's also just so much vanilla and everything in it. So
I see. Yeah, it sounds awful.
fuck you, I don't care.
It sounds bad. It's like you guys went to the store and said, "Where's your bad beer at?" And then you went and bought that for them.
Fuck you.
I, on the other hand, am drinking, surprise, Pilsner. This
Bad
one,
beer.
this one is actually from Love City Brewing, deep cut Pilsner from Love City. It's nice. It's
I
nice.
love those folks.
Yeah,
They're
cool.
so nice.
Cool folks, super nice, super friendly, and also generally make some pretty damn tasty beers. Yeah, this one is it's real clean. It's real nice pale malt character, nice hopper. I would say if it was my personal preference that I was inflicting here, I would say that I want a little bit more bitterness in a Pils, but it's dry, it's well attenuated, it's clean. Really nice beer. It's super fresh. It's canned like 2.5 weeks ago or something like that, which is nice. So, digging
That's
this.
from your Philadelphia trips when you're going out there. Yeah.
Yep. Got this out in Philly yesterday. Actually, in beautiful Wayne, Pennsylvania, which is in Delaware County. For those who are from the area, Delco which Delco, I get the feeling, is kind of the equivalent of like a Westmoreland County out here. You know, not quite Fayette County, but maybe a Westmoreland County type situation. But yeah, I am digging it. I also have on deck here a little Saison du Pont as well, which I think Meg, didn't you?
Yeah, I
left
there.
me one of these, so I'm gonna drink that damn thing too right after this. But okie dokie, we got beers out of the way, guys. We're 1 for 3 on the beers. Really, really bad start. Please don't embarrass me in front of Rob. All right.
Oh, what's Rob going to tell us he has? Tsingtao? It ain't going to impress me none.
That don't impress me. Should we do Shania Twain? You think he's a Shania Twain fan? Probably not.
10 out of 10. I mean, he's from Canada. So is she.
Oh, is he Canadian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Then he probably is a huge Shania Twain fan. That should probably be our icebreaker right off the bat. You know, celebrated filmmaker, love the movie. What's your feeling on Shania Twain? You a Twain head?
We
he's
know
gonna come
about
on
Bryan
wearing
Adams.
a Canadian tuxedo, though. $20 says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
right.
an American flag shirt. One of the two.
Writing that down. Ask him about Shania. We have a couple other things we got to cover off on, though, too. First of all, we did a little votey on the social medias, as we promised. We told you we were going to fucking did it. We did it, guys. We put it out there. You voted. You helped us to choose what our July Showdown topic is going to be for our very first episode in the month of July. And I will remind you what options we had, what the old spinny wheel threw our way for yins to vote on. We had horror remakes and reimaginings. We had fan flicks, and we had best of one Mr. Alfred Hitchcock. There was a significant amount of votes for all topics, but a pretty decisive win for horror remakes and reimaginations, or reimaginings, I guess. So a lot of different directions we can go in that category. A lot of big heavy hitters that we could go after in that topic, or little sneaky boys sneaking under the radar as well. I've got about 6 or 7 that I'm already kind of thinking of that I really need to narrow down because my list is way too long. How do you guys feel about that topic? You got a couple in mind?
I'm into it. I would also try to find a more sneaky, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of seeing what's out there. But like, yeah, obviously there's a whole bunch of Texas Chainsaw you could get into, and there's the Halloween movies you can get into, and
yeah, I almost wonder, and this is, I don't like to do this because we have done in the past where we're like, okay, this particular one's off limits.
Yeah,
but I mean, the elephant in the room, I feel like The Thing, is somebody going to do?
I would agree with taking that one off the table for both this reason, but the other reason is that we are slated to redo the John Carpenter Showdown for October. And if we did The Thing now, it wouldn't be available for October.
That's true.
But that's just the remake, though. That would be off the table.
Yeah, John Carpenter's is the remake.
What am I missing here? Didn't he do the original too? Who did the original then?
The original's from the 50s.
Yeah,
I know you're thinking of the 2011 Meg, and if you want to do that one, go ahead. But John Carpenter's is also a remake.
That one's fully on the table.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. That makes sense. I didn't know that there was one in the 50s. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Thing from Another World, right?
I think from Another World, a Thing from Outer Space.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It is a kind of, I don't want to say schlocky. It's a decent, but probably decent budget for the time, but kind of sci-fi horror creature feature type of thing. But in any case, I say 2011, The Thing. Very much on the board.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would take 82. Like, I would take the one. For sure.
Yeah, that was the one I think we were talking about potentially taking off the table, just because it is a little bit like fishing with dynamite. But
But if you spin the wheel in October and you get it, you win. So.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's like you just hit the $1 on the old Price is Right wheel.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Old Showcase Showdown situation, guys. All right. So we are going to talk about remakes and reimaginings come July. So next week, we will come in hot for you and spit out whatever movie we're going to do. So you have a little bit of lead time if you do want to watch those movies ahead of that Showdown episode. Another thing I would probably like to mention now before I forget, if you want to help us vote on these topics in the future, or if you want to suggest topics that are going to go on the old spinning wheel of death that we pull these topics off of, or if you just want to interact with us, see some damn spooky shit on the internet, check us out on the social medias at Halloween is Forever on Instagram, Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, at Halloween is Forever Pod on TikTok, or Halloween is Forever Pod at gmail.com if you want to send one of them old-fashioned emails. If you are already following us on the social medias, then you probably already know, or if you listen to the show, you're fucking paying attention, you probably know we have our first ever live show. Our live recording that is happening on June the 25th. That is a Saturday at beautiful Hop Farm Brewing Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Actually in Lawrenceville, if you're familiar with the area, Lawrenceville neighborhood of Pittsburgh. Come on down, guys. Come on down. Support us. As we've talked about, we are going to be huffing paint, model glue. We're probably going to do some ecstasy. I don't know. We're just getting butt fucking wild out here tonight. We're gonna get kicked out. We want the cops to be called. It's going to be like the Gigi Allen of podcast scenarios that's going to play out here. I'm going to be shitting in my hand. I'm going to shit in my hand. I'm going to throw it on people. I'm going to punch them in the face. It's going to be chaos. They're going to immediately regret having us on. No, in reality, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about Midsummer, Ari Aster A24 flick, because Meg and some other rad folks from the greater Pittsburgh area brewed a collaboration beer called May Queen with a bunch of rad female brewers and beer industry professionals. Give us. I know we talked about it a few episodes ago, Meg, but what else was in that beer? Because I know there was like local honey. There was like a kind of cacophony of crazy dried herbs and spices or flowers, things like that.
Lots of drugs. Yeah. Lots of opium. Lots of shrooms.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the base beer, we've kind of kept things like a similar theme. It has a farmhouse ale that was brewed with local tea and locally sourced honey. And so I'm probably going to bastardize her name because she changed it. It used to be Tupelo Honey, and now I want to say it's something French, like a Bailly Voyant, something like that. Really great
that
local tea shop.
Cajun.
Yep.
I guarantee.
I think that might be my accent that did that.
That's your Acadian accent coming out. Yeah.
And then she connected us with Apoidia, which is like a local. They're gonna have eventually a really cool local shop where you can taste tea and tea and honey and like get some apps and stuff like that. But she has bees all over the city, and so she oftentimes will get us like very localized honey, and that was the coolest part of it because we got to really break down what kind of tea worked with what kind of honey and which vibe we wanted to go with this year. And when I tasted it about a week and a half ago, it had this like almost dessert characteristic. The tea had some like peach coming through, some vanilla. The honey was like subtle, but this like really nice graham cracker. So it's like literally like kind of reminded me of peach cobbler a little bit, but like not in the extreme adjunct way that Steve likes.
Yeah.
In a subtle, more delicate.
Shut up.
like in a grown-up way.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up and double shut up.
we just got layers upon layers of characters, and I'm really curious to see how it'll be once we get it carved up and crash and all of that stuff. So I think we're packaging it next week too. So
sweet.
Very excited.
Yes. That is going to be exciting. We try that beer, come out, have some beer, have some food. We will put like an alarming amount of acid in one person's beer, and we're not going to tell you who it is, and then we're going to sew that person into a bear corpse and burn them alive. So that's going to be the end of the show. And
I don't know if you're
end...
supposed to give that away yet. That was supposed to be the surprise.
Oh, we'll have to edit that out.
Yeah, there will also be a milk stout with somebody's period in it, but.
I saved it up.
The way you said that is weird. Somebody's period. Somebody's moon juice is going to be in that. We're going to do some sex magic where there's going to be just vats of cum.
I'm naming beer moon juice now. It's going to be so uncomfortable.
Vats of cum, vats of period blood. It's going to be sick. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll probably be asked to not come back again. So this may be your only opportunity to see us at this particular venue or outside of jail.
I just have to note that we're so good at selling things to people. Like, I think we should start our own marketing firm at this point.
Yeah, I like to do the whole like way over promise then under deliver.
Right. Yeah. But like you said, G.G. Allen like experience, and now people are going to come in hazmat suits looking for baby dick, and then like they're going to be bummed. They're going to be bummed when they don't see any of that.
Or we're just going to have like a bunch of like fucking psychos there. So as we walk in, we're just going to get like fucking just cracked in the back of the head with a crowbar. It's going to be awesome. Just non-starter. Yes, so that should be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that. Come on down, check us out, say hello. We're going to do a little kind of interactive thing as well. So a little bit different than our normal recordings, but will be fun nonetheless. All right, so that said, no further ado necessary, guys. Let's jump right into our interview with writer-director of The Sadness, Rob Jabbaz. My first curiosity, you just made yourself a drink. We just talked about all the beers we're drinking right now. What are you drinking?
I bought this amino acid drink that that has like mild stimulants in it. I think it's sort of like a pre-workout drink.
Gotcha.
But I looked into it and it's like it doesn't have like I looked into it. I read the back of it. And, I looked into it. I did
his own research.
Yeah, did his own research.
I'm doing an experiment. I'm going to see if I can not drink coffee for like maybe a month or 2 months or 3 months because I just want to see how it affects me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this. Maybe it's not a good idea, but it doesn't have caffeine in it. It doesn't have like taurine in it or anything. But it is supposed to have like, whatever like organic shit that makes you wake up or something.
Mm-hmm. It's got zoom weeds in it. Yeah.
Also, another thing too is that what do you call it? I'm trying to say that it's green. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot. I've totally.
It's got all the chlorophylls in it.
No, I don't think it has any chlorophyll.
I don't know. I just said it was green. I assume. Yeah, we're going straight downers here tonight. I got a little Saison DuPont I moved on to, and Steve's drinking some just god awful garbage beer with peanut butter in it or something.
I did move on myself.
Okay, all right. So
I moved on to the 11th hour Fire Oak Stone Smoke Lager, so you can stop being shitty with your shitty attitude.
All right, fine. All right, yeah. So obviously talking about The Sadness, and we did an episode a few months ago about this, and as three, I'm sure this isn't the first time you've heard it, but as three, jaded horror fans for decades, not a lot of movies come around that often that you just walk away going, fucking hell, that was a ride. You know what I mean? And this definitely categorizes as that in my mind. I mean, I can safely say this is there's not another movie that I could think of that is quite like this one. It was a blast. It was intense. It was disturbing. It was fun. It was
right.
Yeah, it was just
that's why I wanted to talk with you guys, because like I felt like there was one guy, I think it might have been you, but I can't tell for sure. But one guy really liked it, and like the way you were talking about it, I was just like, oh, you like it for the same reason that I like it, or in other words, like you what I was trying to get across, like it came across to this guy now,
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, that's why I responded. I ended up just listening to your thing, and then I think I went on your Twitter or your Instagram or something, and I was just like, hey, thanks for the thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then you guys, hey, you want to come on the show? And I said, why not? You know,
yes,
I got nothing going on.
Yeah, we got to listen. That's what we were doing. We were sitting there. Actually, I was in Philadelphia. I was in an Airbnb. I was laying there watching Cronenberg's The Fly for about the 40th time, and somebody else's house in an Airbnb. And Steve texted me, said, "Holy shit! Did you see the director of The Sadness reached out?" And I was like, "Oh, we got to shoot our shot on this one." So we appreciate you hopping on and talking to us. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this movie. I know we all really, really enjoyed it. And, you know, kind of getting into, you know, listen, we're going to spoil certainly some stuff about the movie. So if you haven't seen it, shut it off and go watch the fucking movie. Don't let us spoil it for you. Why would they even care about
what would they care about what I have to say if they haven't even seen the movie?
You'd be surprised how many people listen to podcasts about movies they've never saw. You'd be surprised to learn it's a bizarre. Yeah, it's bizarre. But
this is an interview with like the director. This isn't like chatting, you know?
No, still people will do that.
Yeah, it's real fucking weird. People
I've been listening to quite a lot of podcasts like lately, just because, and I've stopped too because so many podcasts are just like a bunch of like people like, you know, catching up like after a week. Like, you know what I mean? It's
this could be a phone call.
Yeah. So
that's what the next podcast is called. This could have been a phone call.
The guy will be like, you know, well, today, you know, I took Lindsay to her skating lessons, and you know, it was pretty nice. We had a nice time, a nice drive. And it's just like, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, do people pay for this? Like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, but like, to actually have people like actually talk about movies and do research and stuff. That's the thing too, is that so many of them just don't do any research, and they just don't. It's like, what am I doing? Like, I could do this myself. You know, I do this myself. I suppose that like podcasts and stuff of the like are just like sort of you know, company simulators. You know.
Yeah, there is an entire genre of podcasts that every imaginable interest subset out there that are solely for the hosts, by the hosts. Like, if no one else listened to it, they would be totally you know, that would be fine with them, which, you know, I think ours is that sometimes as well, but we are fortunate that a significant amount of people do listen, which is nice.
We do have a high media literacy, at least.
Yeah.
So like we do our research. We do try to, you know, watch more movies than anybody else. Like we have some backgrounds.
Yeah. Steve is the filmmaker. He's actually the trained filmmaker, and experienced filmmaker. Meg and I just watch a whole shitload of movies. So he's certainly the professional amongst us. But in any case, so I mean, you know, I don't know that you know, because I did listen to you on, you know, talking to some other folks and interviews and some YouTube videos of you talking about the film and some of your, you know, ideas behind it, some of the things you were trying to get across. I know right off the bat, I'm interested to hear like what your not just particularly for this movie, but what are some of the movies that woke you up internally and said, fuck, I want to be a filmmaker? You know what I mean? And not even necessarily horror genre. I imagine quite a few of that would probably fall in horror genre. But what are some of the movies that made you think like, oh man, I think I could do this? You know what I mean?
Let me say, first of all, that I actually have a lot more in common with Brian and Meg than I do actually with Steve, because I never went to film school, and I'm more of like just a fan that got kind of a lucky break, you know. Like I'm a guy who just, you know, I'm one of those guys who like, you know, knows like episode names of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and like
sure,
and like you know, and whenever I say a movie, I'll say the year after it, like a fucking goof, you know, and so I'm that kind of guy, and I've always been that kind of guy. And then I just kind of got kind of an opportunity to do a film due to a bunch of like totally circumstantial events, you know. But here's the thing. So like I really do attribute like sort of being able to do the sadness. Like I attribute that entirely to luck. However, you know, if you get a lucky break to do something but you don't have any ability, then you just end up, embarrassing yourself and crashing and burning. So you have to have like that sort of innate, well, maybe not innate, because I definitely, I come from an animation background, right? Like I'm an animator. Yeah. And that really, I really think that maybe that's not the same for everybody. Some people are really into like cameras and they carry a camera around and they're camera people, but I've never been like that. I hate cameras. I don't like touching them. I never, when I'm on vacation, I never take a single picture. And then, I'm dating. I've been with the same girl for probably the last like 6 years, but she doesn't do it either. So we end up going on a vacation and then coming back and like not having a single picture, And I just been like, no, we probably should have taken a picture. Because honestly, my memory sucks. Like, so like, I'm not going to remember this in 2 weeks, honestly. It was nice though. But anyways, the thing is animation really helped me with my storytelling stuff. And so like probably like I've never really like, because being a filmmaker, you watch TV shows about like, people making films, or you watch like Entertainment Tonight or something. And it just looks like a big, huge room, like a big warehouse sized room full of people. And they're all like drinking coffee and, like running around and being busy and stuff. And it actually doesn't look like my idea of fun, It just looks like a big fucking, just a big like bunch of people.
I was going to say just a bunch of circle jerk of egos and people yelling things at different. That's what I always thought that was the case too. Yeah, because you see it in movies. That's what a movie set looks like. Yeah.
Actually, I just saw that in I just saw Lux Eterna the other day. The Gaspar Noé short film. I guess it's a short film. Yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of what it's like, I guess. Yeah. Except that these are like, I guess famous, popular people. So there's also sort of like leeches coming around the set trying to like poach for their next project and stuff. And I don't think I had that on the side. But anyways, like I didn't like the look of that as like a younger guy. But I did like, I'd watch something like the making of the California Raisins Christmas special, and I'd be like,
now you speak my language.
Fucking amazing, right? Yeah. Or I'd watch like Hollywood Effects Masters. There used to be a show called Hollywood Effects Masters on TLC back when TLC was L. Was an LC, and that show was I would never miss that show. That was like one of my favorite shows, and they would show you how you do like all the monsters and stuff and animatronics, and I was like, wow, this looks cool. But then like I've never been much of an engineer. Sorry guys, I'm rambling here. Let me just get to your point. Probably something like that. It is when I decided I wanted to be like an animator, or you know what I mean, like or so that's really when in terms of like childhood sort of stuff. Like when I was seeing kind of like stop motion animation stuff. And that seemed like animatronics seemed unachievable because it was like it required like an engineering kind of background, and I just didn't know where to buy. One time I went to a model car store because I was like, oh yeah, the things that operate the steering mechanism are servos, and you need to get them to do things. And then I looked at the box and it didn't make any sense. And like it's like, where's the part that turns? I don't even get that. It doesn't make any sense. I didn't understand how to do it at all. And I gave up. But then I thought, but like, plasticine, and this camera can't do 1 frame a second, but it can do like maybe 2 frames a second if I stop it and start it really quickly. Yeah. And then I started trying to do that sort of stuff. And then, so I mean, that was kind of what got me into like something kind of like filmmaking. Yeah. But then later, like when I came to Taiwan, I had so much free time, and I was able to kind of like learn software better than I had learned in college. Because in college, I just was like, I wasn't really, I don't think I was doing my best work. If anybody out there is like a college student and you're in like sort of film school or art school, like use that time to make like the best work that you possibly can, because like you're actually set up to do it. Like you're set up to like have everything there so that you can. Don't think that you're going to just make this and then like later on, like you're going to do the good thing. Cause it's like you have
all the resources are there at your disposal. Yeah.
And you're not beholden to anybody's like wallet, like
I was going to say, no, there's no budget. You don't have to worry about making anybody's money back. You just are borrowing the university's resources. Right.
Sorry, I just want to say like, technically I was supposed to be like learning animation and time-based media in college, but I just was drinking a lot and like getting fucked up and spending most of my time being like having anxiety attacks about like girls and stuff and like, relationship things. And I think about,
it sounds like normal 20-year-old stuff.
Yeah. About my time in college, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed. But just that how much of a pardon the euphemism, but how much of a little bitch I was in terms of.
Yeah, I did the same thing, except for just also played a lot of Halo.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty much the same exact scenario. So you're Canadian, but you've been in Taiwan for what, a decade plus, I think I read. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Yeah. What brought you to Taiwan?
I was trying. Well, okay, I was trying to get a job in Toronto, being like a layout designer for this magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working like full time as a like a commercial sculptor. Like I was like sculpting like heads for mascots and stuff, and like sports teams and shit, like walruses and whatnot. And then
California raisins. Yeah.
California raisins. So then like what happened? Oh yeah, like I had to tell my boss whether I wanted to sort of renew like my, I didn't have it wasn't really like renewing a contract. He was just like, so you want to do this? You want to keep doing this? Like, do you want to come to the next level? Do you want to like be part of the team? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm not sure if I'm the best at this because I wasn't. I wasn't a very good subtractive sculptor because it's carving, right? You're taking away. So it's like if you fuck up, you just have to start over. But anyways, so I was trying to get this job at this magazine because I was working full time at the mascot head thing, and then also I had a part-time job to like with this sort of hip hop magazine that like was not like a real magazine. It was like a street team magazine that people would just like hand out in the
like a zine.
Yeah, it was like but it was better quality than that. Like it was like color, and it looked like a magazine. But anyways, and they had enough to pay like a staff,
Oh, so anyways, that's definitely not a zine.
Yeah. Sometimes I never got that last paycheck actually. Still looking out for that one. But anyways,
it'll show up any day now, I'm sure.
I trust that. But anyways, I was going to say that I went to this other place that was a real magazine, and I got like one interview, went really well, got a second interview, and then like I was sure that I got it because I knew one of the people in there who did like event coordination with them. So I thought like, oh yeah, she'll put in a good word. And then they gave me a call and they were like, yeah, we just wanted to let you know that you didn't get the job. And I was just like, God damn it. Like, why did you call? And then at that point I was just like, I'm going to Taiwan. And then, and that was basically because I had a friend who was in Taiwan who said like, yeah, you should just come out here for like, 6 months or a year or something. It'll be cool. Like, it's chill and it's easy to like get a job, and it seems like hard and stuff, but it's actually like not. Like everything's because they want people to come over here to like teach like little kids and teenagers and even adults like English and stuff. And I was just like, all right, cool. Like that sounds cool, I guess. I don't know if I've never been much of a teacher, but then like when I didn't get that job, I was just like I'm if I don't do this now, I'm probably never going to do this. I'll just be stuck in Toronto my life. Sure. So I was just, okay, I'll go there for like a year, I guess. And then I ended up staying for like, way longer, like 13 or 14 years or whatever it's been at this point. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I think we've all had that moment of like, there's nothing here for me. Fuck this noise. Boy, I want to move to, Taiwan, South Korea, Thailand, something like that. And just, you fucking did it, which is pretty cool. Have you always been, a horror nerd? I know you're like animation, was an early love for you. Have you always been into horror and genre films?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, from the very beginning. Yeah. I mean, the answer is yes. The reason why like I got into animation was just kind of, I was alluding to that a little before, is just that it didn't ever seem realistic to make live action movies, but animation seemed achievable because it's just really need one guy to do it.
Yeah.
So, otherwise, if it was easy to make, films, I would have made horror films. And the animation and stuff that I did always has always has some sort of like horror kind of edge to it,
Sure.
Everything, all the drawings that I do, it's always like that, you ask my parents, they're always just like, he's always drawing that, weird stuff.
Yeah. As a long time horror nerd, and we kind of chatted a little bit about this on, the episode we did on the sadness, and then, back and forth a little bit in the DMs before, when you reach out to us. And I'll tell you, one of the things I really appreciate about this movie, besides the fact that like kind of mind blowing, which I definitely want to hear a little bit about, but like most of the time when you talk to somebody it's like their, feature length directorial debut, you're not dealing with this level of production value. You know what I mean? And this level of like practical effects, and it just seems just really, really polished and yeah, just impressive generally. But whenever, I'm sorry, I got off a little bit off topic there, but as a horror nerd, one of the things I absolutely love about it, besides the high production value and great story, and there's a lot of great like social commentary and political commentary and that sort of stuff in it, is like you can't trust this movie. You know what I mean? And like the way I kind of think about it is, I mean, I've seen so many horror movies that you kind of get a feel, and we've talked about it on the show, you kind of get a feel for like, not necessarily, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's not that. It's more like,
what you're in for.
I know the speed. Yes, I know the speed that we're going to get to in this movie. I can tell whether this is going to be a moderately disturbing flick. I can tell whether this is going to be kind of a nerfed experience, if you will. And this movie definitely lures you into a false sense of security, because for the first, I'm just going to guess like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the movie, it's setting up some pretty expected kind of zombie outbreak type of tropes. And then it just blindsides you. It just cups your ear and sends you into a fucking tailspin, and then the rest of the movie is just like, you're just trying to keep up. So there's not a lot of movies as a jaded horror nerd that you're like, yeah, I don't want to turn my back on this movie because it'll do anything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of feels a little bit more dangerous, if you will, and not to be, too much hyperbole. But is that something that was, I mean, I assume the answer is yes, something that was intentional, but like, what about that level of like extreme violence and not just the violence, but emotional I guess turmoil that you're throwing the viewer into? Like, how is that appealing to you? Like, what does that mean to you in terms of delivering the final product?
Like sort of being like unpredictable in terms of okay, like, so one of the things that early on, when people were sort of seeing this film at festivals and stuff, one of the things that people kept saying was like, how much it was like a Hong Kong sort of, gory crime sort of 90s movie. Like people say like, category 3.
Yeah.
But the category 3 is just a rating. Like, if I said, oh yeah, it's like, have you seen the new R-rated movie? It's like, well, what is it? Is it a comedy? Is it something about Mary, or is it,
it's almost like an NC, like it is, and maybe this is something that's lost kind of in culturally lost on me, but I always thought of like, when I hear category 3, I almost think of it as like that, like unrated or like NC-17 type of rating. Like it's meant to be a little bit more extreme. I don't know if that's accurate though.
Well, it is. It is. It's just that it doesn't. It absolutely is. Like, category 3 is like an NC-17. Yeah. So you are correct. However, Showgirls is an NC-17, right?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
So like Orgasmo is an NC-17.
Sure, perfect. So it doesn't take into account the genres, like, and it doesn't necessarily mean the film is like a violent film.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. Just for for the sake of talking about it, like, you know, the category, people were comparing it to like category 3 films, but specifically like the, you know, like Herman Yao kind of films, where it's like, you know, Untold Story or Taxi Hunter or something, where it's like violent and like, you know, pregnant women are getting fucked up and, you know, just like one of these. But the thing that was really cool, like I saw, I didn't want to really make a movie like that, because those movies, just across the board, what they always do is they will always incorporate sort of like this goofy kind of like over the top acting and sort of Three Stooges style comedy into the film. And it's weird because it sort of puts it, because not only is there that, but there's also like, you know, prolonged rape scenes, and you're just like, you know, how is this? How am I supposed? Because this is like what you hear interviews with like Herman Yao, and he's just like, oh, we put that stuff in there just so that the audience wouldn't take it as seriously, or wouldn't be as upset by it, right? But it's like, I actually find that it has the opposite effect, because what it does is it puts you into this place where you're like, oh, okay, the film thinks this is funny, and and we're supposed, and the audience should be laughing at this, but I'm not laughing at this. So what's wrong with me? You know?
Yeah, like it's like injecting levity where levity doesn't deserve to be, kind of.
There's like, but you have to understand too that there is like a cultural disconnect there too, right? Like there's like, for example, there's I forget the name of the movie, but I saw this one movie where like they take, some guy gets like taken from Hong Kong and they send to China, and then he's like, there's all these scenes of like people being like tortured horrifically, like you know, in these sort of torture you know, cells or whatever, and they're being tortured in like indescribable like ways that often are, you know, sexual, and I remember like reading sort of, you know, reactions, reading about like theater reactions, and people in Hong Kong were like just dying laughing, because it's like a joke about what, you know, Chinese prison is like, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's like a guy like, you know, buried underground, and his dick is like poking up out of the ground, and there's a bunch of ants all over it biting it, and it's like, oh, China, you know what I mean? It's like
oh, China, them and their feeding dicks to ants.
Yeah. So I mean, that's obviously what I'm saying is a little different, but at least you kind of understand that there is that factor.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just felt like, okay, you know what? I think this kind of stuff could hit a lot harder for my audience, which is essentially a Western, international audience, because here's the thing: when you make a film, you have to really understand the audience, and like I'm not a Taiwanese guy, and we did intend for the movie to be a Taiwanese release. But I mean, plenty of American films. I mean, the biggest films that here are Hollywood films, obviously, right? Like, I mean, Avengers comes out. You better hope to God that you don't have your film coming out the weekend that, like, you know, the new Doctor Strange movie is coming out, because you'll be fucked. No one will go see your movie. Yeah. So the point is that I figured the Taiwanese audience is familiar with like the language of like a Western film. And that's what I'm most familiar with. Obviously, I've seen a lot of films from a lot of you know, all over the place and stuff. But like, you know, I guess sort of you grow up. You that's what I feel is the most in my blood, is like the sort of, you know, like like for example, you mentioned The Fly before, like things like you know, the things you grow up on, like Cronenberg and Stuart Gordon films. And all that good stuff, you know, all that stuff that we like. And then also like I had just seen Uncut Gems before we started doing the Sadness, and I thought, and I was so impressed by that film, because I was just like a film can be this. You can do this for a film, like just it can just be about like a
panic attack.
Very few films have given me as much anxiety as that film ever, genre or otherwise.
I love it, and it's like, so that was really like going into it. I was just like, I love how you know, if you buy into this film, like you're, you know, how do I say it? I feel like anyone, like it doesn't matter who you are. Like this is such a human experience, like this film, that like maybe if something is just very urgent and it's just constantly like, okay, what do I do now? And you're just constantly kind of trying to think on your feet. Like maybe that will be something that anyone can like, you know?
Yeah.
Because how do these fucking Koreans make their movies international hits? You know, like they can have something be like a huge blockbuster in Korea, and everyone gets behind it, and it feels very Korean, it feels very local, and people are, you know, Korean people are like, it's like, yes, this is our film, you know, this is a Korean film, and then but then also it just goes around the world, and it's the biggest thing ever. You know, how do they do that? And so that was also on my mind too, and I was just thinking, well, I mean, we're all people, you know, so we gotta just appeal to sort of the things that are common, you know, I guess, you know, and being afraid and trying to get away from someone who's trying to like hurt you, and also like sort of being afraid of like, if, you know, I mean, of like, if you're a woman and like, you're afraid of like, just like a guy who's like, you know, bigger than you and feels entitled that you belong to him, and like, you know, to like sexually violate you or to harm you. Like, I mean, you know, these are things that are super strong. Like they're like white hot strong,
and they're universal themes.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. Because even one of the scenes you're referring to, when we talked on the episode, I was just like immediately triggered, you know, because in like the best way possible. That was the best thing that could have happened, because I understood what was going on,
and everyone knew that, even though it was this unique situation. Listen, I've never ridden a commuter train to work in my life, but I immediately was like, I've met a couple guys like we're referring to the kind of, I think we refer to him as like the incel businessman that's on the train. Like everyone knows a person like that. Like, yeah, absolutely. I've met people that are 100% capable of that type of behavior, you know? Yeah. And it's just a universal, trigger point, I think, for everyone. I think the other thing that made this like, because I went in and I try to do this as much as possible, and sometimes just being, you know, involved in the horror community and in the show and going to, you know, fests and stuff like that. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but I try to go in as blank slate as I can. You know, I don't watch trailers if I can help it. I try to go in with, you know, very, very, very little, you know, understanding of what the movie is. And the only thing I went into the sadness knowing is, I think somebody told me, like, it's kind of a zombie movie, but hold on to your fucking butt. Like, that's all I knew kind of going in. And so, you know, I didn't know the angle of the kind of, you know, sexually sadistic elements of the virus, of the Alvin virus. And so it threw me for a fucking loop. Because the acts that are happening, and there's some really like intense, violent, you know, intense on-screen violence, and some of the most effective, frankly, is you know, off-screen. You know, obviously the very what will go down in history, I'm sure, is quite a famous scene in the annals of horror, which is I believe her name is Molly, with the I'll just say the eye fucking scene. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. I was watching this movie. No, the spoilers are out the window. But that's off scene. You know, for the most part, it's, you see the emotion and everything involved with it, you hear it, but it's off screen. The thing that was the most disturbing to me was the intent. You know what I mean? Like that idea of, no matter what culture you're in, people taking some degree of like gleeful excitement in these types of acts is just universally makes your skin crawl. It doesn't matter what culture you are, where you come from, your age. Like, that was the most effective thing for me. Maybe it goes without saying, but it was one of those things when you see it, you're like, how the fuck didn't I think of that already? Like, how haven't other people done, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, it felt like it was right there, but it was just executed so well, and it was just like, it was one more layer of the onion that, like, I just haven't seen anybody pull back before.
First of all, thanks. You know, I'm happy that it worked. Happy that I got you. But the thing is like regarding sort of the thing you were saying before about kind of like a movie that kind of surprises you insofar as that like you don't oh man, like I didn't realize that I was in for this, you know? Or rather a movie that you're sitting in the theater and you actually feel in danger in the theater, like because of the movie. Like that was my experience. I in Toronto, they actually had Fantasia Festival in Toronto for 2 years. I think it was like 1998 and 99. And one of those years I saw the premiere, or at least a very early screening of the Ebola syndrome in the theater. And I had no idea what it was. It was just like the Ebola syndrome. I was just like, all right, I'll go see the Ebola syndrome. A complete like random watch. I had no idea what it was. Just saw a bunch of Chinese people on the poster, thought, okay, cool. Let's go check it out. And I couldn't believe how like much of a panic attack I had just in the theater. Right. And it was just because like exactly what you said, like you get lulled into sort of, actually, I'm not going to say you get lulled into like sort of a false sense of security, because right off the bat, that movie starts out with violence, but it's like, you don't expect it to kind of go as far as it does. And also you don't expect it to kind of like show you like as much as it does, because you're used to watching. I mean, at that time I definitely had seen, lots of international movies, Asian and otherwise, but like I'd never seen anything quite like that before. I'd never seen like one of these like really violent sort of like sleazy, gory crime movies, like a Hong Kong movie essentially. And I was just like, I don't trust, I can't trust this movie to be held to the same, to hold itself to the same accountability as like a Western film. Like what it, like, I don't know what this thing is going to show me. And you're sitting there just like, please don't, please.
You can't trust it. Yeah. You're like,
I think something similar is like happened not too long ago with A Serbian Film when that came out. Right. And I think a lot of people went into that with like even bravado of like, oh, I've seen every fucked up thing possible. But then you see that film and you can't trust that film either, because it just goes and shows you extremes that like, oh wait, never mind, I got myself into something I shouldn't have.
That's exactly what I felt after watching it.
Yeah.
The thing about a Serbian film though is that like it really is a lot like The Sadness, or rather The Sadness is really a lot like it, in the sense that like a lot of what people, it's all just about something that they put in your head. It's not about something that they show you. Like they don't actually show like penetration with like the baby, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't actually show penetration at any. It's all, and it's, you can do it safely. Like you can have the one guy just being like, and then you can have like the little boy shot 8 weeks later, just being like, Dad, done. And it can be two people in separate rooms, done totally safely, where the child is not put in any kind of harm, and it's all totally sanitized in terms of the production, but then in terms of like what the idea that it puts into your head, it's life changing in the worst way, like sticks with you forever kind of thing, right?
And that's a credit to you as an editor, because all the ways you don't show things, but we still know exactly what's happening and how depraved it is. And like, it makes us create our own images in our minds that are worse.
Yeah. There's an element to it too, which, and it's the old, like, hey, whatever you can drum up in your imagination is worse than anything you can put on screen. But I think even there might, for me, there's always an even kind of deeper personal element to scenes like that, where you're forced to imagine this heavily suggested horrific thing that's happening, because you're almost like, it makes you feel implicit in a way, because you're the one imagining it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not being inflicted on you. You are in a way inflicting it on yourself. So I think it like makes you feel gross about yourself. Or
and I can turn around and I can just be like, if anyone gives me any criticism, I can be like, hey, get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't do that. You did that, you fucking psycho. Yeah.
Deal with your shit, right? Then come back to me.
Yeah.
One of the things that because a Serbian film is interesting because like what it does is actually like, or sorry, rather the method by which it does what it does is very similar to the sadness, insofar as that it like, gives you sort of like all the touchstones, and then it allows you to sort of imagine it kind of yourself, like what the actual act is like, and it's just showing kind of like it's just showing you enough of what you need to see, but like it's not actually showing you like the true just here it is. There's the thing that's the horrible thing, it is. So there is like sort of in my from my perspective, that's like the artistry, like that's the art of the whole thing. And so like I learned from a Serbian film because like I that film didn't get like it was banned and illegal in a lot of places. It was like it didn't get distribution for a long time. It was only able to get like distribution through some like Brazilian company, if I'm not mistaken. It was really like just like no one wanted to touch the thing, so that kind of made me think like, well, I do want to make money off my film, I do want this thing to actually like have like some sort of like value, because it's not like I love this kind of material. I mean, I love this. I love the sadness. I think the sadness is a great film, and I'm very proud of it. But at the same time, too, like I do want to make money off this thing. I'm not spending all this time and stressing myself out for my health, obviously. So I really tried to be very, very careful about a lot of that stuff. And I tried to sort of have my cake and eat it too with a lot of the sexual violence stuff, and just sort of, getting a lot of it across with just dialogue or stuff, like I said, where I could shoot something where I don't necessarily even have to have the same actors in the same room, for a scene or whatever, some of them it was, but like, the situation is very controlled. Another thing too, is that when you're on set too, like you want to keep all these people kind of on your side as much as possible. And like, you don't want to, people get really vibey on a movie set, and it's very easy for mutinies to happen and stuff. So like, you have to, there's so many things to consider, like, and then, but the point that I'm trying to make is that, I had sort of a Serbian film was sort of something I was looking at as like, okay, like, I don't think that anything happened here that was, offside. I think it's all pretty, it's a film, and it puts some pretty nasty ideas in your head, but it's definitely not like, they're not actually showing you anything that's really fucked up. But it doesn't matter. It's done in a way where it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like no one's touching this film, and these guys are going to be lucky if they make their money back on the film, which they did. I actually talked to Alexander, the guy who wrote the Serbian film, who's a fan of this. And we talk occasionally. He's a real warm guy, really, what's that word? Gregarious, a very gregarious kind of guy. But we talk a lot about that, about sort of like, and he really is like kind of an artist, insofar as that he's like, he really is trying to push. He really is trying to go beyond like, whatever, this idea of like, of a movies as industry is bullshit. Like we have a responsibility and try to push things and try to, this kind of idea. Right. And I wish I could be as courageous as that. I'm trying to work within sort of the boundaries and try. I'm not trying to push the envelope, but I am trying to get to the edge of the envelope,
It seems like he's trying to stretch the rubber band until it snaps. In a way that his intention is to be subversive, right, in a way, which I can appreciate. Obviously, not knowing the guy personally, but having seen interviews and stuff like that.
He's a much better writer than me too. Like I read one of his unproduced scripts, and it's just like, this is so good. I really wish someone could. And it's not even like what you would think. You wouldn't like, from the sick and twisted minds that brought you a serbian. You think it's going to be terrible, but it's actually like this really. It's actually almost like like, you ever see that movie where Robin Williams has to like go to like heaven or whatever? Like,
Walk in the Dreams or whatever.
No, you know what's called? What dreams
may come.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but then also kind of like a Cronenberg film together. And it's like, I read the script and I was just like, man, this is, how come no one's made this? This is brilliant. It's great. It's not even that like inflammatory. Like it's way, just leaps and bounds like away from a Serbian film in terms of like being offensive. Like, but like, I mean, this would be awesome. This would be a great film. I guess maybe just, I don't have a good reason for that. He's had the script floating around since like 2010 or something. Lots of people read it.
I wonder if there's that stigma associated with it because for whatever reason, people just won't. Yeah, I mean, that movie couldn't even get distribution. I know, once upon a time, especially in the early days of like YouTube or earlier days of YouTube where people were like, always make those videos about the most intense, extreme horror movies. Like they would always bring that up and people were like trying to trade for copies of it and stuff because you couldn't find it. And, but yeah, I mean, that's
stuff about like the most intense, like, crazy, gory, like the goriest sort of whatever. Like I can't stand those kinds of conversations because it's like what's missing in that conversation is the art, like I was saying before, you know? And it's like, you know what, guys, like you can find videos of people being killed. You can find videos of people being tortured on the internet, like you can find them if you want them. Like if watch those, those are way more intense because people are actually dying, I mean, people are actually like, and guess what? You can actually see someone like in that situation, like if that's what you want to watch, like it's available, so, like to look to sort of like fictional movies and like, fake blood and latex appliances for like extreme, like the most extreme thing. It just seems so completely ridiculous to me, and like, and it's totally missing the point of like, do you even like movies? Like, do you even like cinema? Like if that's your goal, it just completely boggles the mind. It upsets me. And again, at the same time, I'd like to reiterate the fact that, this is why I enjoyed listening to you guys discuss my film before, because I was just like, good. You're not just sort of focusing in on like, like, oh wow, the extreme. It's because for me that's not what it's about. For me, it's just like, it's just about kind of like, just trying to make us remember kind of why, like what a horror film is, and try to get us to kind of and actually create something that's like creates anxiety and makes you kind of feel scared, but in a fun way, like in a way. Because when you leave the theater, like I don't want you leaving like after the first time you saw like Irreversible I don't want you leaving that way. I want you leaving hyped and talking with your friends and like and happy and going to get pizza and like like fuck. Oh, do you remember the part like But I still want like there to be some very hard edges in there because that's it's just like a drink like that doesn't have any alcohol in it, or like that doesn't have like a kick in it, or a cigarette that doesn't have nicotine in it. Like it doesn't have that thing. You need that thing to make it real.
Makes it feel a little dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. That's fun. It's supposed to be fun, right? Like just to disturb you. Like it doesn't make any. It doesn't. It's not something. Well, I mean, it does make sense to me actually. Like because there is an audience for that. But like I just am not interested in really. Like trying to just go all the way in that part.
There's a difference between like, and I literally had this written down. You were talking about the, a Serbian film. That's one of those movies that's like, I always use the test is, would I ever watch this movie again? And the answer for a Serbian film is I have absolutely no desire to watch that movie ever again. Good. I know, but I just, for whatever reason, but to your point, it was not fun to me. I had no fun with that movie. It was a well-written movie, all that stuff. I had no fun in that movie. The sadness, I had a lot of fun. Well, like, and as disturbing and as, intensely emotional, all those things, you finished the movie and you felt like you got off a roller coaster. So that feeling that you said of, talking, wow, when this happened, you know what I mean? It's like that feeling when you all are sharing that simultaneous, emotional charge getting off of like a thrill ride or something like that.
Okay. What was your favorite scene? What was your, like, oh, I like the part where the guy did the, I mean, it's like it's all about like, like when you watch like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 and you're talking about like your favorite, kills, like where it's like, oh, the girl with the TV, it's prime time, bitch. Like that, like, oh, I like that part. Or like, the part with the puppet, the marionette, it's just all these, it's just like these iconic, very memorable scenes. And there's lots of them. There's like more than 5 of them. and they're, and it's just so fun. I mean, it's just so fun, I guess. Like that's another thing too about horror is that it really is like so much of it. And I think that this is something that people need to talk about more, is that so much of like horror, especially like sort of, this idea that kind of like the best movies that came out were in the 80s kind of thing. It really is because of just sort of, us people our age being just nostalgic for a simpler time, and so much of just like the horror community, horror Twitter and stuff is like kind of just about that, is about. Like,
it's nostalgia, and I am an absolute whore for nostalgia. I mean, I mean, if you look around my office here, I'm looking at Pee Wee Herman and Count
Chocula,
the Ninja Turtles. Oh yes, I've Count Frankenberry and Count Chocula behind me and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's funny now because I'm 37 years old, and I get on Twitter and Instagram and stuff, and I see all these people like waxing poetic about Jason X, and I'm like, I remember when that first came out and I thought it was absolutely atrocious, and now I have a little bit of positive thoughts and nostalgia around it, but there's an entire generation of people who are just in love with that movie because it came out exactly the right time.
Exactly. Like, I mean, there's people who regard like, the Final Destination era of horror to be like the best because they were born in 1990, like whatever, like 3, and then that's just right. For them, it's like that's what was the first time they smoked crack. Like that's what.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry guys, I have a real tendency to like go off on like long tangents. So
no, I love it.
Please. I'm going to ask you, Brian, to rein me in.
I think he's the worst person to ask.
I was going to say, Jesus Christ, you're asking the wrong person to rein in because I'll go off on.
Forget it, Brian. Megan, let's focus on you for a bit here. Go ahead. Let's do this interview. Let's conduct this interview here. Let's make it more like a Larry
Brian's
King affair.
gone. Megan's in. This is how it's going.
Tap out. I was crawling. I was in the center of the ring, and I just barely made the tag. And now you're ready.
I feel like probably some of my questions even would be probably similar to even Steve's. I'm just like curious with this being like your directorial debut. Like what was your experience life and like as far as like how immersed, because like we were just talking about making really fun scenes, and I'm very curious about like the actual experience of like you can even maybe choose one you're like that was super memorable, and like are you an immersive person where you just want to jump in and be like, no, this is exactly how I want to see this happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have, because there's no precedent. Like there's never been a Taiwanese movie made like this before, right? I mean, there's been Hong Kong movie, like we talked about kind of before. There's been Hong Kong movies that have like big, like big sort of set pieces that are gory, like this scene in The Untold Story where he chops up like a bunch of little kids in that kitchen or whatever, which is a fucking crazy scene. Like I couldn't believe that when I saw it. But anyways, the thing is that you want to kind of have that. I wanted to have that sort of John Carpenter, Rob Bottin kind of relationship where it's like, like, hey, like, look, you finally have your chance to to really show everyone out there what you're made of. So, you guys go off and come up with some stuff. I'll come back after 2 weeks and we'll go over what you did and I hope that you can put a lot of yourself into this, and then, when I did that, when I went back, I found that like what they were doing was completely not what I wanted. Like it was a lot way more restrained, and I felt like I needed to be, okay. So this is a place where I can't really expect to get good results by giving autonomy. It's better for me to micromanage this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the act, to get Wang Siqiang, the guy who plays the businessman, the incel businessman, leaving him to kind of develop the character himself and allowing him to kind of, how do you say that, like cultivate that character himself is like a place where giving autonomy is better, right? So then I realized that that's something that's like important as an important skill to have as a director, is to sort of know when to really be a hard ass and kind of try, like, really be micromanaging, and when to sort of allow to kind of like to be able to see when it's a good idea and when it's not a good idea. So then we come up with the train scene, let's say, that's kind of the big gore thing. So so okay, let's see what has to happen in this scene. We need to have like probably about 5 just on-screen stabbings, and then we need to figure out kind of like like the spatiality, like the blocking, like the how it's going to happen in space, and then so we figure that out, and then we find out kind of like on set that, like, originally it's like they have this method that they use in previous productions that they've done, where they have like a piece of like latex, a fake Halloween knife, retractable knife, and then a blood bag that punctures underneath, and then some blood comes through. The thing though is that, like, because the camera is handheld and whipping around so much, the amount of blood coming through from that blood bag is just not enough, right? So it's just like, okay, so this is not working. This is just not. I mean, maybe, and then they try to argue with you. It's like, well, it's realistic. We used this before. And it's like, well, okay, that's great that it worked before on a previous product, but it's not working now. So so instead of trying to make an excuse, we got to come up with a solution. Like, what can we do to just make these things really just explode with color? And he's just like, and it's like, well, they come up with, they try to think of some ideas, and they go back to sort of their playbook, and then we end up coming up with this idea of just putting, just getting kind of like a plastic bag, and just filling it like full of blood, like a lot of blood, like like twice this amount, like of a beer bag, and then and not even sealing the top, and then just going, being very aggressive with the knife, and then just having that blood just spill and having it drip and just make a big, huge splash and collect on the floor and stuff like that. And then, like, all of a sudden, when you're picking up somebody and whipping them around and stabbing them, all of a sudden, like, it makes sense. If that happened in, if it wasn't for the way the camera was moving, if it wasn't for the way that the action of the actors was, it wouldn't look real. It wouldn't feel. It's not about it really being realistic, but it wouldn't feel right, because we're not.
Yeah, the physicality's got to be there for something that just visceral and intense.
You kind of want it. You're looking for like it's almost like theater or something. Like, you need it doesn't matter if it's realistic. It's like you need the audience to really feel the point of it, right? And so there's things like that, and then there's also kind of like, okay, we also have a bunch of, we have like an Achilles tendon bite. We have a bite to the neck where the, what do you call that? Is that called the carotid artery?
Yeah.
Carotid artery releases and the blood comes out. We also have like the kind of the, how do you say that?
The geyser?
Yeah.
The blood volcano?
I was going to say the centrifuge. The centrifuge would be there. The cornucopia on the Thanksgiving table. There's that, and then there's also the eyeball, of course. There's also the jamming in of the Blade Runner,
the thumb in the eyes. Yeah, love a good thumb in the eyes.
So you have those, and then it's like, okay, well, we have to do all those. We're going to do this all practical, and it's like, yeah. It's like, well, how the hell are we going to do that? Like that, like, how are we going to make sure that they all like that it all works and we're not going to have any problems. And like, because like every time we have to reset this, we have to go and remove the makeup, clean up the actor and do it again. And then I was like, what are you talking about? Like okay. So after a while I realized that like we were having this miscommunication because they kept telling me it was impossible. And then finally what I realized is that the first assistant director and like, sort of just more of like the director's unit, they were under the impression that I wanted to do it all in one take. Like they wanted it to be like
wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
and that was a miscommunication that
I mean, that would have been really impressive for sure.
like, I mean, but I don't know, like that kind of stuff is like, sometimes that can take me out of the movie. Like
I was going to say the quick cuts sometimes are more disorienting in a good way.
Well, it for me, like editing is just, it's just part of film, right? Like it's not like it's not like we're all trying to make 1912, you know? Like we're is that what it's called, 1912?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the big one shot.
Yeah.
Or Russian arc. You can use either. Who cares?
Sure. I mean, I like one long takes, like in some places, because it kind of gives the this sort of feeling that, well, you know, depending, like, okay, so for example, like we use like the one long take when the businessman actually assaults Molly in her ocular cavity, right? That's like one long scene, and there's an intention because the one long take is supposed to it's supposed to make you feel like you can't escape. Like this is there's no cut here. This is
well, because then the one guy is hiding under, so you're almost living there with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Where,
that's exactly
it.
Like that's really the audience, like the porthole, the audience porthole, like the audience avatar, right? That guy thing, like kind of just watching but unable to do that, and also kind of ascribing a certain kind of like frustration or like
or guilt. Like would you almost feel like you are as much of a coward as him for not doing something?
That's a big thing. That's a big thing, I think, in a lot of my work, is sort of like brave, like sort of bravery or like the lack of thereof, and the frustration of cowardice. It's like I find that like I like that, like these kinds of ideas quite a lot, because I find that they're just like I thought that I think that a lot of times when people don't like that stuff in movies is because it offends because they don't want to like it, because if they like it, they feel like in some way that could make them be accusable as like cowards or something. Like, for example,
like it hits a little too close to home for
it's
them.
Like when people don't like Nocturnal Animals, and I'm like, what do you mean you don't like Nocturnal Animals? That movie's awesome. Like, that's such a good movie. Like, that fucking sucked. Like, why didn't that guy fucking do that? Like, I would have done this. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, why didn't he just beat everyone's ass? You're like, yeah, we get it.
It's about being a coward. That's what it's about. Like, that's it's so ridiculous when people, anyway. So back to the thing about the side. It's just like, once we realized that we were going to do all of these things in separate takes, then it's like, okay, that makes sense anyways, because we want to really see what's going on in this take. You know, like we want the camera to be right there, and we want to see like that, see the Achilles tendon. We want to see like the eye get punctured. We want to see this stuff very close up. So like, I mean, I want them to be hero shots anyways. How do we manage the amount of blood? Like, what about continuity and stuff? I'm like, well, just, we'll just shoot. We'll just make it sort of, we'll have one moment where there's just blood all over the place, that it kind of all happens at once. It's not cumulative. And that's sort of what not so much like the geyser. The geyser was already there, but there's also a part kind of following the geyser shot where there's just sort of like a big wash of blood that comes across.
It's like it's a shining almost spew of blood across the floor.
The idea there was like, that was probably one of the last shots that we did, and I just got like a mop bucket and we filled it full of blood, and I just told the cameraman to I would pour it, and then he would just follow it, and then we would have the side of the subway car like all bloody. So like the previous shot would be like almost like no blood, or rather, pretty much no blood in the entire subway car. But then like we'll we'll follow like the edge of the blood, and then the camera will go up, and then we'll show like everyone covered in blood, like so it's like a transition, like, and that's shot, that like literally that 3 seconds or less is enough to tie like no blood to blood everywhere, and the audience will not question it at that point. It's just okay, continuity, don't worry about continuity anymore. We fixed it. And then
and it's also that feeling of like a second ago we all had a good handle on what was happening, and this is how far things have gone in 30 seconds. Yeah.
So I guess just to sort of put a bow on the question about like kind of the actual practicalities of production, it's just like, it's really not that difficult to understand how to do it if you just think about it in a very like pragmatic way, and just make sure that you know exactly kind of what you want and what you're doing, and you're not you don't have just kind of a vague idea of kind of what you want, you know, like if you know exactly kind of what you want, and like, okay, we need this, and we need to tie it all together. These are some things we need to make sure we keep an eye on in terms of continuity, and then at that point, like because the people on set, they're just there to listen to you. They're not really there to come up with their own ideas a lot of the time. I mean, the cinematographer is there to discuss with, but like, as far as the director's unit is concerned, and as far as everyone else is concerned, they're just waiting to hear what you say. So it's important to just like, to really have a clear idea. And that's where like having very detailed storyboards comes in. And if I were to give, if anyone were to ask me about like a suggestion, in terms of just like production or whatever, like, I mean, I'm just Rob Jabbaz here. I made Just the Sadness. That's about it. But like, if anyone asked me for advice, I'd say, do try to get your storyboards as detailed as possible, like shot for shot, and draw them the way that you are going to like edit the film, so that and then at that point you can kind of like look at them and figure out which ones you can do in one shot, and I don't know. This is all part of the.
No, that makes a lot of sense too, because and not being a filmmaker, but obviously having a great interest in it, and having seen or talked to a lot of filmmakers and stuff. I think that especially young filmmakers do fall into that that pitfall of feeling like they need to make big creative decisions on the fly, because that's like the romanticized part of filmmaking.
Or just try something out,
maybe in movings. Yeah. Like, hey, but having that all laid out, like you said, in storyboard form, now it becomes more like block and tackle.
Yeah. Let me make a caveat. Let me make an amendment to what I said. Okay. So that's a good idea. Like especially if you're working on a low budget, like you have to remember that making a movie is like, you've heard the term time is money before. You've never experienced like the idea of time is money more than when you're working on a movie set, right? Because it's just like, literally, it's just like there's a furnace door opens, and then it's just like snow shovelfuls of dollar bills going into like a furnace, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you're just like, you're trying to get everything done like as quickly as possible, and you're trying to get all your shots, and you're trying to, and even more than getting all your shots, but like trying to get that shot that closes the scene, so you can at least close the scene. Maybe you don't get all your shots, but at least you can end the scene,
At least the door's shut behind you.
So there's that, but I mean, you're dealing with like the sun going down. Sometimes you're dealing with like weather. You're dealing with something taking way longer than you thought it would. Like just in terms of resetting. Oh, this will take 10 minutes. It takes 2 hours, right? So like the thing is you have to like, you have your storyboards, but you have to also be able to think on your feet enough to know when you can be flexible with them, and know when it's like, okay, you know what? This is supposed to be an escalator, but we don't have that escalator on this location. So now we have to figure out real quickly how to do it with like get every emotion and thing, all the things that are supposed to be in this scene. We have to get that across, but there's no incline, like escalator part anymore. Now it's just a tunnel. So it's just a tunnel now. So how did but we still want it to feel like the same urgency and stuff. That's kind of that's not a very clear example, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
no, I do.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me to a question of, and I think it happens on probably every movie, but like, was there anything you were in love with at the script stage so that just didn't make it to the final, whether it didn't make it out of the script or didn't make it through the editing room? Was there anything that you were in love with that you lost?
That I was in love with? There was, I wasn't really the film that came out at the very end is like, everything that I wanted was there, basically, but there were some things that I kind of, ideas that I had that I left on kind of the cutting on the, they weren't even in this, they weren't even in the script before I even wrote them, but I had some, I had some idea. I had this one idea. I mentioned it when I gave my, Q&A at Fantasia, when I was at Fantasia, but, it was like, I wanted there to be a guy in the hospital who was getting open brain surgery, and he had like, his head kind of open, and he had like that green piece of latex, like the divider or whatever. And all of a sudden a bunch of infected break into the operating room, and then one guy one infected guy drops his pants and then takes a shit inside of the guy's.
Didn't we talk about G.G. Allen in our intro?
We did. We had a G.G. Allen conversation. That reminds me of if G.G. Allen, edited or shot that one scene from Tammy and the T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much where it's
God.
But like, I ran that. I actually wish that I included that, because that would be another sort of one of those like. Well, here's the thing: is that the problem was that it felt like it was too like funny, because you guys all laughed. Like, what if I did it so that it wasn't funny? What if I did it like with the music and like with just like the way that it was shot? If it was just like
super uncomfortable.
God, what if someone took it in my head?
Like a realistic like grimy shit.
Yeah, we might not be the audience
not
to
like,
ask
not
this
like
type of question, because we're like we'll take on all the fucked up things,
We've watched too many trauma movies to not find poop funny, so
yeah.
I mean that was basically that. There's in terms of just like stuff that was on the cutting room floor in terms of editing, I did have to cut out about like 7 or 8 seconds of just like an infected guy having sex with a corpse on the street. That it is in the movie, but you only get to see it for like about half a second.
Right.
I know immediately which scene you're talking about. Too.
If I didn't cut that scene out, then I wouldn't have gotten into like a festival that I was really wanting to get into. The way that this all works, like all of these like programmers, they program for like different festivals, and they all know each other, and like it's this little weird like community and stuff. So it's kind of like. They really do act as like gatekeepers. And it's like sort of a good thing if you're friends with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. Like, or rather, forget if you're friends with them. If they like you, if they don't like you, then forget about it. But if they like you, or if they think you're cool, then like, then stuff flies. Because I mean, at the end of the day, just like we said before, like like why does something like The Sadness thread the needle, and something like this, like a Serbian film, not thread the needle? And actually, I don't think that has anything to do with whether or not people like the people who made it or not. That's not really the issue. It's just more of like the consensus of this gatekeeping community. Like, oh, this is not the right thing. Anyways, sorry. So that's it. That's what I got to say about that.
Continued in part 2. I hate Mondays.